get into trouble anytime we try to understand something in isolation. The true meaning of things exists not buried inside them, but in their relation to other things. Take money, for instance. The meaning of this rectangular piece of paper covered in strange hieroglyphics can only be understood when we look at the role money plays in the complex coordination of modern capitalist production. Take away capitalist production, and this rectangular piece of paper loses its meaning. If we take away this context of social relations, it is impossible to understand what money really is. If we view money in isolation, we end up treating all of its social power as if it is a natural property of rectangular pieces of paper. This meaning and power appear not to be specific to a given time and place, but universal qualities that exist in all places and all times. Of course, this would be ridiculous, yet the failure to see things and concepts relationally is par for the course when dealing with bourgeois ideology. This video examines the relation between exchange and production. It argues that exchange and production only derive their meaning from their relation to each other, and that we have to understand the specific nature of this relationship if we are to really understand the full meaning of common concepts like freedom, equality, utility, scarcity, and value. Attempts to understand these concepts without looking at the picture relationally end up being one-sided. Meaning appears as internal to the object or concept itself, and not something coming from a relation. Because there is no way to account for the specific context in which a meaning appears, the meaning seems to be a natural, eternal truth. We will examine the relation of production to exchange through 3 different interrelated windows. Each one will give us a different perspective on the same problem. The first will be freedom and equality, the second scarcity and utility, and the third value.
Thank you so much. Let me ask you first, California, don't you just love your freedom as an American?
Where do the notions of individual freedom and equality so deeply ingrained in our modern consciousness come from? They come from the realm of exchange. Here in the world of buying and selling, all individuals are free to buy and sell their labor and the products of this labor as they choose. Nobody forces anyone to buy or sell anything to anyone else. The path of an individual's life appears as a series of free choices, and with this comes the notion of personal responsibility. People appear only to have themselves to blame for their personal state of affairs. This freedom to buy and sell presupposes the legal relations of individuals to own property. Thus, individuals have legal rights, the same rights for everybody, establishing a basis of legal equality for all. This generates a notion of freedom and equality in general. We talk of the inalienable rights of the individual, of human rights, of individual freedom. These are seen as universal properties of humans, and market exchange is seen as the natural expression of these properties. Already, we have clues that there may be something one-sided about our analysis. It appears that the individual has been assigned universal traits, traits that are not due to a specific set of social relations it falls within, but due to its basic nature. The individual is being understood in isolation, one-sidedly. Rather than a social structure generating a particular type of individual, a universal type of individual is seen as generating a specific social system. Whenever we see the particular masquerading as the universal, whenever we see claims as to the universality of a concept, we have clues that our analysis is one-sided. Such clues demand that we interrogate our notion of market freedom. What kind of society is required to have a world where buyers and sellers are free to sell labor and commodities as equals? We need more than just money, markets, and bourgeois states. We need a particular type of production relation. Though individuals are free to choose whom they buy from and sell to, they are not free to not buy and sell. This is because we can only access our subsistence through the market. Such a situation does not occur naturally. It presupposes a specific type of relation between producers. In order for individuals to have to enter the market to buy their subsistence, they can't be able to create their subsistence on their own. They must be deprived of means of production. Means of production must be a private commodity owned by the few, compelling the majority to enter the market to sell their labor and buy their subsistence. In contrast to the perspective of the market, where all actors meet as legal equals, in production, we see the division of people into classes, workers and capitalists. The world of market equality presupposes a world of inequality in production. This implies a specific type of production, production for exchange. In production for exchange, products are not created for the use of the laborer. They are produced to fetch a price in the market. And because the means of production are owned by the capitalist class, the goal of production becomes not meeting the needs of humans, but generating profit for the sake of profit at the expense of the laborer. The more work that can be squeezed from the worker, the greater the profit of the capitalist. Yet, when worker and capitalist meet in the market to buy and sell commodities and labor power, they meet as free consenting legal equals. There's a contradictory relationship between the freedom of the market and the despotic plan of the factory, between the equality of the market and the asymmetry of class. Yet, though the two sides contradict each other, they also depend on one another. We can't have market freedom without class and the inequalities of capital. If we just said that bourgeois freedoms are an illusion draped over a real world of coercion and inequality, we would be venturing too far into a one-sided analysis of production. We can never forget that capitalist production is production for exchange, inherently linked to the freedom of the market. Market freedoms are real, but they contradict their own material base. This contradiction between freedom and coercion, between equality and inequality, is what allows us to have a critique of our society in the first place. It is only because we are promised a freedom that we cannot have, because we see ourselves as equals in a world of inequality, that we can form an internal critique of the society we are in. It is the movement of this contradiction that allows us to posit a possible exit from such a society, inspiring us to imagine a world where freedom and equality could stand on a non-contradictory basis, where individuals truly could be free to choose the path of their lives.